Fargard 2. Yima. Gamshed. This Fargard may be divided into two parts. The first part, 1 through 20, Ahura Mazda proposes to Yima, the son of Vendidad, to receive the law from him and to bring it to men. On his refusal, he bids to keep his creatures and make them prosper. Yima accordingly makes them thrive and increase, keeps death and disease away from them, and 3 times enlarges the earth, which had become too narrow for its inhabitants. The second part, 21 to the end, which is 43, but we're seeing numbers that extend to 140. On the approach of a dire winter, which is to destroy every living creature, Yima, being advised by Ahura, builds a vara to keep there the seeds of every kind of animals and plants, and the blessed live there a most happy life under his rule. The tale in the first part refers to Yima as the first man, the first king, and the founder of civilization. Later, India took that individual as a god, but the tale in the second part is a combination of the myths of Yima as the first dead and the king of the dead, over whom he rules in a region of bliss, and of old myths about the end of the world lasting a long year, of 12 millenniums, was to end by a dire winter, like the Etic Thimble winter, to be followed by an everlasting spring which men, sent back to earth from the heavens, should enjoy in an eternal earthly life, the same happiness that they had enjoyed after their death in the realm of Yima, but as the definite form which was taken by Mazdian cosmology. The world was made to end by fire. Its destruction by winter was no longer the last incident of life, and therefore the Var of Yima, instead of remaining as it was originally, the paradise that gives back to earth its inhabitants, can be nothing more than a sort of Noah's Ark. Well, that's pretty significant if you're taking the thing as a Noah's Ark. And the only commentary is the reference, the conversation is the law, and we also have mention of in the Vedas, Yama was the first man who is the priest too. He brought worship here below as well as life, and first he stretched out the thread of sacrifice. Yima had once the same right as his Indian brother to the title of a founder of religion. He lost it. In the course of the development of Mazdaism, Zarathustra became the titular lawgiver. Well, he said that he wasn't, much like that passage in, 46, no new thing among the messengers. Zarathustra didn't like founders of religion and never supported founders of religion. He said the same religion, just sometimes a world savior has to come. Don't think of it in the Christian context. And anyways, 1. Zarathustra asked Ahura Mazda, O Ahura Mazda, most beneficent spirit, maker of the material world, thou holy one, who was the first mortal before myself, Zarathustra, with whom thou, Ahura Mazda, did converse, whom let us teach us the law of Ahura, the law of Zarathustra. 4. Ahura Mazda answered, the fair Yima, the great shepherd, O holy Zarathustra, he was the first mortal before thee, Zarathustra, with whom I, Ahura Mazda, did converse, whom I taught the law of Ahura, the law of Zarathustra. 7. Unto him, O Zarathustra, I, Ahura Mazda, spake, saying, Well, fair Yima, son of Vivangat, be thou the preacher and bearer of my law. And the fair Yima, O Zarathustra, replied unto me, saying, I was not born, I was not taught to be the preacher and bearer of thy law. 11. Then I, Ahura Mazda, said thus unto him, O Zarathustra, since thou wantest not to be the preacher and the bearer of my law, then make thou my words thrive, make my worlds increase. Undertake thou to nourish, to rule, and to watch over my world. 14. And the fair Yima replied unto me, O Zarathustra, saying, Yes, I will make thy worlds thrive. I will make thy worlds increase. Yes, I will nourish and rule, and watch over thy world. There shall be, while I am king, neither cold wind, nor hot wind, neither disease, nor death. And verse 6 there is supposed to be composed of unconnected Zen quotations that are no part of the text and are introduced by the commentator for the purpose of showing that, although Yima did not teach the law and train pupils, he was nevertheless a faithful and holy man and rendered men holy too. 17. Then I, Ahura Mazda, brought 2 implements unto him, a golden ring and a poniard inlaid with gold. Behold, here Yima bears the royal sway. As a symbol of the instrument of sovereignty, he reigns supreme by the strength of the ring and the poniard. That's 20. Thus, under the sway of Yima, 300 winters passed away, and the earth was replenished with flocks and herds, with men and dogs and birds, and with red blazing fires. And there was no more room for flocks, herds, and men. Then I warned the fair Yima, saying, O fair Yima, son of Vivangat, the earth has become full of flocks and herds, of men and dogs, and birds, and red blazing fires, and there is no more room for flocks, herds, and men. 10. Then Yima stepped forward toward the luminous space southwards to meet the sun, and afterwards he pressed the earth with the golden ring and bored it with the poniard, speaking thus, O Spenta Armaete, kindly open asunder and stretch thyself afar and bear flocks and herds of men. So 7, 8, 9, 10. So 7 is 17, 8 is 20. But note right next to the sun, thence is derived the following tradition according to G. du Jinan. And that's in French, you should say. There's no direct connection, as it seems, between the 2 acts of Yima, namely between his going to the heaven of the sun and his enlarging the surface of the earth. The meaning of the first is given, perhaps, by the tale of the dream of Cyrus. He saw in a dream the sun at his feet. Thrice he tried vainly to seize it with his hands as the sun was rolling and slaying away. The Magi said to him that the threefold effort to seize the sun presaged to him a reign of 30 years. Yima goes 3 times to the sun and takes thence royal power for 3 times 300 years. In Aryan mythology, the sun is well known as the symbol and source of royalty. Persian kings, in particular, are the brothers of the sun. Now that rune is the sun rune. And Spenta Ar Maeta is the spirit of the earth, you could say. 11. And Yima made the earth grow larger by 1/3 than it was before. And there came flocks and herds of men at his will, and as many as he wished. the happiness of which made Yima reign on the earth. In the Shahnama, he is the founder of civilization and social order, of arts and sciences, the first builder. 23. Thus, under the sway of Yima, 600 winters passed away, and the earth was replenished with flocks and herds, and men and dogs and birds, with the red blazing fires, and there was no more room for flocks, herds, and men.